Hey guys, it's Tim and welcome to the Weebo and Director Show. I'm Weebo. We've also got John, aka Director. What's going on, John?
Not much today. Just finally happy to be back at my desk.
So, before we start everything, I do want to say thank you to everybody that checked out last week's video, last week's episode number one. Well, it wasn't even a week ago, technically, because we put that out on Monday.
That's right.
So, oh wow, I just got the text you sent me. Not
I
going to talk
told you.
about that here, but okay then.
We've learned it all wrong. Like
I
we were
guess
taught all
so.
wrong our entire life.
But as far as what we're going to talk about today, talk about some of the details of the PlayStation 5 and some of the things we do know. And John's going to kind of break down some of the more technical aspects of it, since basically when Mark Cerny did give his first details in the initial Wired interview, he didn't really give much that I guess you could say a casual gamer could understand. It was more like the hardware aspects of it, and as
Yeah,
far
and
as
I'll
I
break
know,
down the hardware on this one
exactly.
pretty well.
Let's say as far as I know, John's probably one of the better people that I know to break all that down. Also, we'll tell you what free games you can get on the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Switch this month. And then we're going to talk some movies coming out this month, and of course, the first Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. So, as far as the PS5 goes, we don't know really too much about it. I mean, some of the key things we do know is it will be backwards compatible with PS4. They said only PS4, right?
Right, so it's based off of the PS4 architecture, allowing it to be backwards compatible, which was the difference between the PS3 and the PS4. When they did the PS4, they redesigned the whole basis for it, the whole architecture for it, so that it can get the newer hardware in place. And that screwed us all over because we couldn't get that backwards compatibility. So with the PlayStation 5, we're actually going to get new processor. So they're still going with the AMD. You're going to get the Ryzen third gen chip, and I'll talk a little bit more about. Uh, it's not going to be an actual Ryzen third gen, but it's based off of the third gen. You're also going to get a Radeon new gen with ray tracing. Uh, it's similar to what Nvidia's is, but it's their own technology in ray tracing. And then, of course, we're going to have SSD now. So, unless you're somebody like me who's gone and upgraded your PS4 Pro or PS4 Slim to have an SSD, you're probably still dealing with crappy slow times. And even then, it wasn't necessarily built to handle the SSD properly. And then another thing that we're looking at with the PS5 details that Cerny did release is that VR is still very important, and that the current hardware is going to be perfectly compatible with the new system, which is a good thing considering those things are about $400, give or take, or $299, I think. But if you get the whole kit, it's like even more. And the main thing for all of us is it's a gentle transition. His words exactly. So every game that they release initially for the PS5, and mind you, they haven't actually coined a name for the next gen system, but um, sticking with the pattern here, we're calling it the PS5. So all PS5 games released initially will be released for the PS4. And that being said, there's a lot of questions as to these major games that we're anticipating. Death Stranding, Final Fantasy VII, whatever else you can come up with.
There's Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk 2077, and then a bunch of other stuff that we know is being worked on, but is probably like in the early infancy of being worked on. Like I told you earlier, Rocksteady's got a game coming out, possibly another BioShock. Maybe I know Borderlands 3 comes out this year, but maybe they can remaster that when the PS5 comes out, or maybe not even remaster, but just put it out compatible with the PS5 specs.
Right. I think that where they're going is not the remastered, but simultaneously having a scaled down. I think it's
Well, isn't
the
isn't
way
it
I would
isn't
well,
it
the
when
way
the
I would release the PS5 version and then just scale it down and release it for a PS4 instead of working the other way around. It's
well
easier to scale down something.
didn't when the PS4 Pro come out, they were just able to put updates and patches out for certain games, and it upscaled all the graphics to the PS Pro stuff.
Right, but they weren't natively
Gotcha,
for it.
gotcha.
These were for some that no. For other games, they did release native features or compatibility with the Pro hardware. And let me give you an idea of how powerful the PS5 is going to be. And if you're a PC gamer, you usually build your own computer, you buy a pre-built one, and you have higher hardware than what you have in your current consoles, even with what's in the Xbox X. Like, you usually have way better. I know I do. So the Ryzen 3rd gen chips haven't been released yet. The specs have, and to give you an idea, the lowest model of the Ryzen 3 3000 series, which is estimated to run about $100 to 200, is still better than getting an i5 in some cases. And all these Ryzen 3 or third gen, so the 3000 series, they're supposed to be compatible with PCI 4. So PCI 3 is your faster communication. That's what all your video cards connect into, and what your new SSDs, the M.2 SSDs, connect in with. So I'm thinking that, or hoping that the SSD they're using is going to be an M.2 based SSD that's PCI based, and that it's going to be PCI 4, so you're going to get even faster speeds than what they're even just talking about already with having your standard 2.5 SATA SSD or normal PCI SATA or PCI M.2. Now, I don't know if I'm going over people's heads at the moment, but just know
Maybe a
super,
little.
super fast.
And
like, that's really what it comes down to.
And talking about that super, super fast, I know this probably is more on the SSD side of things, but when Mark Cerny did that first interview with Wired, he brought a PS5 dev kit. Now, keep in mind, they don't have actual PS5s built yet or anything. They're still working on it. But he brought a dev kit playing Spider-Man. And apparently, in Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 right now, when you do fast travel, it takes roughly 15 seconds. On the PlayStation 5 dev kit, it took less than a second to fast travel.
Oh, yeah. And we have this thing in PC gaming. Like, I play Rainbow Six Siege religiously, right? That's my big shooter of choice. When you're loading into an online match and somebody's little thing is spinning, the first thing that fills the chat is get an SSD, buy an SSD. That is every time in just about every online game where they have to load in to a map, it's get yourself an SSD. That's the same concept with the PS4 to PS5.
And I mean, just speaking of, like you were saying about the games coming out and whatnot, my one question is going to be something that, they do on Xbox already. If we own the game on PS4, will we have to buy it again on the PS5? Because I know when they added backwards compatibility from Xbox One to Xbox 360, if you own the game on 360 and it's been ported over for backwards compatible, you don't got to pay again. You automatically own that game. You can still, play the game because you paid for it once. So that's the big question I want to know is, if you already own the game on PS4, will Sony make you buy it again on PS5?
So there's two things to that. If we look back at, once again, The Last of Us, when they did that, they remastered it and they charged us for it. Now,
Wasn't it only like $20 though?
No, it was a full game. The remaster was a full game, but if you traded in your PS3 version at like GameStop, you would get it for half off. They had a trade-in special going on. But it was a full price game when the remastered came out. Now, that was Sony, but that is a Sony owned developer.
Right.
So now you have, if we look back at Bethesda with Skyrim, when they came out with the enhanced special edition, where it now had the way better graphics, textures, everything. If you already owned Skyrim with the expansions, you would get the special edition for free, which
Okay.
was a whole new install, it was a whole separate
Right.
game. But if you didn't own it with all the expansions, either you bought whatever expansion you had left to get it for free, or you would buy the new game as a whole. And more often than not, if you didn't have either of the expansions, you would buy the new one. And if you had one expansion left to buy, it was actually cheaper to just get the other expansion and get it for free.
Right. That makes
So
sense.
it, you know, it just depends. My my guess is that yes, they'll make you pay for Sony owned developer games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much your big ones, which is going to be your Death Stranding. A Sony exclusive is, or at least limited exclusive, is going to be Final Fantasy VII, and then Last of Us 2 is an exclusive. So more than likely, yes.
Just think playing God of War on a PS5.
Ugh, I hope they give us a remaster of that. That was
Or
already a beautiful
or
game.
they just give us God of War 2 or whatever they're going to call it.
I mean, for those of you, I'm not going to spoil it for those of you that haven't played it. If you haven't played it, shame on you.
The game's a year old. You can give spoilers.
Thor. You now have to fight Thor. You just
Basically.
have to. You can't, like, they already said what, 5 games? They want to do 5 more games.
I heard something like maybe it was 5 in total. Something like that. All I know is Cory Barlog, who directed and put the whole game together and everything, he was the main guy on the game. He has plenty of ideas in his head. I mean, he stated himself that they wanted to maybe do DLC story, like a side story, kind of like we got with, what was that? Uncharted, The Lost Legacy, where it was like a second side story.
Yep.
But what he had in mind was too big for DLC. It was basically just another game. So they were like, yeah, we can't put that out as DLC. That's too much.
Well, yeah, no, there's a lot, because if you think about the gods that we've already covered in God of War,
Now here's my. Sorry to cut you off, but this is important because some people may ask this. Do any of the storylines from the previous God of War games fit into canon now, or is this like a complete fresh story reboot?
No, they fit in.
Okay.
They fit in because he still has the past.
Gotcha. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
They covered that when he was in Niflheim.
Right.
So in the hell, in Norse hell, when he was there, or not Niflheim. Niflheim's one, hell's the other. When he was in hell, it was they covered his past and they brought it, that he still deals with it. I mean, that was the whole point. You're taking Kratos from being this god of war and destruction to now father, and seeing that he doesn't want his son following those same footsteps and learning to be human, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Right, they tied it in. I mean, the whole thing is he is an outsider. He is a god from another land in their land, and that was what started the whole beef with him and Baldur.
Right.
Yeah, Baldur. But ultimately, you're gonna have to have Odin. I mean, he killed Zeus, so he has to get to Odin at one point, and they stated Ragnarok many times. So that's the end of all battles, end of the world battle. So you have that, and we didn't get to visit in the game many locations, so that left the door open for a lot. We never went to Valhalla. So I'm going to say that the end of the series, it has to at least take you to Valhalla and take out Odin.
No. I mean, when you mention Odin, now we know Atreyu is Loki. Loki is Odin's son, right? Or is that only in the Marvel?
No. Baldur is the son of Odin. and
Okay, so
Frigg.
Loki as
But
Odin's son is just in Marvel mythology then.
right,
Okay.
right.
See, that's something I
In
didn't actually
actual,
know.
yeah, because in actual Norse mythology, Odin and Frigg. Which, see, here's the thing: Freya, I believe, was the one that was in there that was the mother, but in reality, Frigg is supposed to be the wife or one of the women of Odin, and they had the son Balder.
Gotcha.
Um, right. But there's so many gods I can't even start, and we've already killed three of them, three, four of them. You killed the brothers, you killed Balder. I mean, and there's a few other ones there, but the biggest thing is you have to make it to Odin. He is the uh, king of the Norse gods.
Right.
Period. So definitely looking forward to it. And I mean, with this whole PS5, I wouldn't be surprised if they release one for the PS5 before the PS4. I mean, I don't know how gentle he was talking about the transition to the next gen, but I don't expect it to be more than a year.
Oh, probably not. No.
Mm-mm.
I
It
mean,
wouldn't. It wouldn't make sense
right.
for them, especially since it's easier now for people to upgrade because it's going to be backwards compatible. You don't have to worry about it. You can keep all your PS4 games, get rid of the PS4. Boom.
Yeah, just trade it in when you go and buy your PS5. I mean, you put your whatever GameStop or whatever you're getting it from is going to ask for your down payment, your pre-order deal, and then when you go to pick it up to pay it off, you say, "Here's my PS4. Give me the trade-in credits. Boom, give me my PS5."
Midgar. That's
Right.
one of the other realms. Yeah. So okay. Sorry, I'm trying to like remember all the realms. You brought up God of War. Shame on you.
Hey, Game of the Year
I
2018.
know, right?
I mean, it's still
Um,
winning Game of the Year awards.
yeah, and I'm just thinking right now with the technology that they're getting, ray tracing. I didn't even touch on that. Is the ability to do reflections and lighting
Mm-hmm.
in a realistic manner. And NVIDIA came out with their RTX cards, which is the stands for ray tracing, and it's supposed to do real time ray tracing. Granted, that is not going to be as good as rendered ray tracing in actual animation or computer animated
Right.
movies because they're rendering that post versus doing real time. But one thing to take from this is Ryzen and AMD in general, they develop Vulkan. Vulkan is the driver itself. It's what talks to the video card, the hardware on the video card, right?
Right.
Currently, we mainly all use DirectX or like OpenGL, but mainly DirectX 12. Vulkan is lower level, which can talk more directly to the hardware, allowing for higher frames. They originally had demoed this with what's it called, Doom, and how, and you can see it now because Doom, for instance, I can play it right now not using Vulkan and using DirectX 12 because it gives you the option, and I might push with my 1080 um 110 frames at max everything, 120 frames. But if I turn on with Vulkan, I'm getting the same quality graphics, but I'm pushing 220 frames per second at
Hmm.
max to give you an idea. So
Right.
there's the possibility that they're going to take that and build it into it, that they're going to have the games running with the Vulkan driver or however that may work and tie into the um the Radeon based cards with ray tracing.
Okay, that makes sense then. Well, a little bit.
Yeah, now the one thing I haven't seen is what the RAM on that video card is going to have. They didn't release those specs, but if they want to compete with anything, they're going to have to at least do 6 to 8. Your standard high, like all your high end cards now, even your baseline for like the 1060s, they have 8 gigs. So It's just a lower end chip,
And remember,
which is what defines the difference between
it's
them.
supposed to support up to 8K.
Well, if you have an 8K TV.
Yeah, and who has an 8K
Do you have an
TV?
8K TV? I barely have a 4K TV. I mean, have you seen the prices of some of the 8K TVs? I mean, there's a 92.8.
I mean, if you want a
92-inch
good
8K
deal on
for
a, if
20
you want a,
grand.
if you want a good deal on a 4K TV, I got the 55-inch TCL, and those are only going for. Let's see, it's cheaper than when I bought it, but the 55-inch TCL at Walmart is only $300.
Dude, there's even some Samsungs on sale, like Micro Center, Fry's, depending on where you're located.
Right.
And even Walmart has some Samsungs for under $600, like 55-inch 4K HDR.
See, the cool thing with the TCL TV, the 4K one, is it's got Roku built in.
Yeah, see, that's not bad, but
And that one, you know, at Walmart
Samsung
and
has all
Best
the
Buy
apps
is
I
only
need.
$300.
well, the Samsung has everything I need. I mean, I got
Oh, yeah.
my Prime, my HBO, my YouTube, my Netflix, my Hulu,
I mean,
my everything that charges my wallet.
what would be the perfect one would be one that's got it probably is, I just don't know, got the Amazon Fire Stick built in. Since the Fire Stick, you can basically hack any apps onto it. Let me see. I'm going to Google this really fast.
Yeah, but would you really want to try it and accidentally brick your TV?
You know how many Fire Sticks I've hacked and never had a problem?
Same here, but it's the TV.
You can get a 32-inch Insignia that is 43-inch Insignia 4K with built-in Fire TV for $199. The 50-inch is $299. Built-in Fire TV, it's Toshiba. That's not bad.
No, not at all. I mean, I like my Samsung.
Like you were asking, you said you don't know about the what was I saying? What were you talking about? Like how much memory and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
This article here from, I guess it's called PS5 PlayStation.com states memory will be 24 gigabytes total with 20 gig GDDR6.
Oh, so that's for the video card, or just overall?
It just says memory. Well, here's what it says. It says,
well, technically speaking, they're not running anything else, so they can run all off of video memory anyways. That being said, that's a massive amount of RAM, and it's GDDR6.
Well, it says 24 gigs in total, 20 gigs GDDR6, and 4 gigs at DDR4 to run just the operating system.
Right. So you don't need much on the operating system itself because it's very light. The only application running are whatever your widgets are in your crossbar and your chat, your store. So running the browser, that's all it's going to be used for in booting the game. Once the game is booted, it will have some processor because the processor is what's going to talk to the video card, the operating system, and to the storage device. If you base it off of a normal motherboard architecture, you're going to have your north and south bus. Your south is your storage devices, your slower devices, and then your north is the RAM, your video cards, stuff like that.
Now here's my other question with the GPU.
Mm-hmm.
So Stadia did their whole comparison of their Stadia's got 10.7 GPU teraflops. The Xbox One X has 6.0, and the PS4 Pro has 4.2 GPU teraflops. Do you think they want to at least try and match what the Stadia's got at 10 teraflops for the GPU, or do you want to think they may go even higher?
I think they may match or go higher. They might have to go higher because here's the thing: Stadia is going to be server based. It's going to be data center based. The upgrading your servers, they're they're going to live in a format where their life cycle is going to be shorter than what the life cycle is for a console.
Right, yeah.
Their 3 to 5 years is going to be the life cycle that they're probably going to push, because they're always going to be expanding the data centers, always, as they go further up. And expanding system hardware is different than network hardware. It's so much easier.
Very
So
true.
you can easily just pop out a video card and upgrade the video cards, and that's it. And whatever processors they're going to have now are automatically going to be way better than what the any of the consoles have. I can assure you that.
Oh yeah, like that's not even a question, to be honest.
So I want to say they want to at least try to match it, but if not, beat it.
Right, and then you also got to think the big question is how much of the stuff you do on your PS5 is going to be basically like streaming it. We know that, excuse me, we know that with Xbox, they have Games Pass that they're pushing really hard, which is basically their streaming service. You pay however much it is for it, and then you play the games and they stream right to your system. How much does PlayStation want to get into that? But they do have PlayStation Now, but PlayStation Now is still a little buggy. I've been playing PlayStation Now over the last month. You can't play a racing game on that. Every other game I've played is basically fine. I did have a little couple lag issues when I was playing Batman Arkham Asylum. But outside of racing games, because for some reason, every racing game I've played on the PlayStation Now, you go to turn with your analog sticks, and either it's very delayed or it just turns all the way and you're right into the wall, which is very weird because other games I've played, like Mortal Kombat 10, NBA 2K18, what was the other one that I played? The Last of Us. Controls are fine. So it's weird that only the racing games are messed up. And so you would think if PlayStation wants to compete, Xbox, they've already said they're moving forward with streaming. They've got an Xbox One coming out without a disc drive. So does PlayStation try to get into the streaming game as well to compete with both Xbox and Stadia?
They're going to, but you're going to alienate a lot of people when you can't get the next console up because you can't take a physical disc. There are still quite a bit of people that lack the proper internet access.
Exactly.
So you can't alienate those people by going full digital, but you can lead with the digital. One thing I'm going to say is I think they will easily beat the 10 teraflops because this new video card that they're going to, the new Radeons they're basing it off of, they compete or beat the GTX 1080. They don't necessarily beat like the 2080s, but if it's going to have ray tracing, it's going to be on up to par with what the RTXs are. And if they push for what a 1080 is, the 1080 alone it does 9 tera or 9 so it does 9, and I believe the RTX does 11. I want to say the RTX 2080. So I'm pretty sure they're going to beat it, match or beat.
Right. And like you were saying about people not having the correct internet, probably, you know, where we grew up, your internet there is horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've talked to a couple people, you know, I do my wrestling thing. I've got people that follow my wrestling stuff, Pro Wrestling Unlimited and whatnot. And I, you know, got some people that followed me on wrestling, but then we started talking other things. There was one guy out of, I think it was Kansas. He's in a place where his internet's so bad, he can barely watch YouTube, and sometimes Netflix doesn't even work. He said that basically buying video games isn't worth it for him anymore because for the fact of most video games come broke now and you need to get that day one patch. Well, half of the time when he needs to get that day one patch, it's going to take him to like 12 hours sometimes to download the patch because his internet's that slow. And he's like, I've kind of just given up because I go and spend $60 on this game and then either I just play it messed up day one with all the bugs, or I have to wait so long if my internet's working properly to actually update it. So that's another thing with all this streaming stuff, is the fact that there's still a lot of people in this country that have that low-end internet that it's just not fast enough.
Oh yeah, and here's the other thing. So first off, I want to give a perfect example of how bad the internet is up there. So for many of you who played back in the day, SOCOM, and played it online on the PS2,
That was John. That was John's crack cocaine. He was always on SOCOM.
Yeah, so to give you an idea, the internet was fine then when SOCOM 2. Well, the internet really hasn't changed there since then.
Exactly.
So just imagine now.
No,
people still have to update their games, and they have to update
Right.
day one patches all the time. So a lot of people in those areas. I mean, I play with people on Discord who have okay internet, and they literally are like, "Dude, I just got this game. I'm not gonna be able to play with y'all until like 2 days from now."
You know, Days Gone has already had in a week 8 patches.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
did
apparently
you hear
God of
all the
War had
cracker
that many in
reviews?
like a week and a half, but
So I just found something here. I was talking about the Vulkan
right.
API. So the AMD is on the same path with its Pro Render release, which is supposed to do real-time GPU acceleration of the ray tracing techniques, and it's mixing it in with its rasterization-based rendering, which is built on Vulkan. So that means that if it's going to be new-gen Radeon-based, it's going to be on Vulkan, which is going to allow these lower set of hardware to run better graphics. Essentially, I mean, if a 1060 had the ability to use Vulkan in the way that AMD Radeon does, it'd be able to run like a 1080, just about.
Gotcha.
I mean, not exactly, but it gives you an idea.
Right. And then, like, the final thing, just to wrap up all the PS5 talk, they did say, I think it was Sony put this out on Twitter, it may have been, that PS5 will not launch in the next 12 months. So we do know that it's going to come sometime after April 2020. So it's not going to be
They have a release though, like a not a release, but an announcement.
Right.
That they would make some sort of announcement at the end of this year, like in November.
Yeah, because I think it was like 2 weeks ago, that the PlayStation 5 release window is not in the next 12 months. So that basically rules out a spring release. But when you look at the PS4 release date, PS4 released in November. PS3 released in November. And then I think the PS2 was what, March?
Yeah, it's Japan that always gets them like 6 months earlier and has like any spring to summer releases, and we get them.
PS2 was the only PlayStation system to come out in the spring. PS1 was December, PS2 was March, and then 3 and 4 were in November. So if they keep with that, basically, we'll probably, if possible, this is just me speculating, PS5 November 2020.
That's what I'm going to shoot for. And I mean, I've said this before.
Maybe December.
2020 and 2021 were if you keep with the pattern that they've set of 6 to 7 years, that would be the best bet. And the fact is, your Radeon 3rd gen chips are not out yet. Your newest Radeon cards with ray tracing are not out yet. So think about what you're getting with the PS5. You're going to get brand new, like the newest gen of hardware from AMD that they haven't released yet. They're supposed to release this end of this year. So that makes more sense for a November 2020, and it matches the 6 to 7 year release pattern that they've had.
Now, with all of that, here's the last thing I'm going to ask you about this. What do you think could be either a launch title, which that would basically mean coming out either on the same day as the PS4 or within like a month of the PS4, or something that can maybe, we're going to speculate the November 2020. PlayStation does like to put one or two big games out in the spring. So say we either have your launch title or a big game you think could come out. What would that be? 3 or 4 months later in like March, April. What do you think one or two of the first big games on PS5 is going to be?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Because we know, like, I'll give you a list of games that we know are being worked on and will be on a Sony platform. We've got Last of Us 2. We've got Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk 2077, Beyond Good and Evil 2. We've also got the Marvel's Avenger game from Square Enix. We know Final Fantasy VII is being remade.
Last of Us, there's a lot of rumored release dates around September, October. So I'm not going to go with that.
Of this year?
It's already too... Yeah.
Huh.
Those are some of the rumored dates. I mean, there was a leak from some retailer that showed that release date with some box art. There's a few other things. Being so far in, I don't think it's going to be released November next year. I think, if anything, it's going to be one of those beginning of the year releases or end of the year 2019 releases. Now, if we're talking Cyberpunk, I'm going to shoot for Cyberpunk. That was recently announced. It's not far enough in to really say it's going to be a 2019 release. We have to think that whatever is going to be a launch title.
Now, here's one that I'm going to throw out to you. It's not going to be an exclusive for PlayStation, but at E3 last year, Bethesda stated, "Hey, we're working on a new Elder Scrolls." That's all we can say.
It's also not far enough in, especially with the undertaking that was Skyrim. Skyrim took a while from when Oblivion was released to even come out. So
you think that's probably past 2020?
There's a possibility. I don't know if they will do. They might do a PC first, then console type of thing. So, if anything, I would assume they would release PC first, and then release the consoles, like a lot of PC based games do. But I'm gonna shoot for Cyberpunk and Death Stranding.
So you said, Skyrim. So Oblivion came out in 2006. Skyrim was 2011.
Yep.
So that's a 5-year gap.
But you have to think about the size of what is Skyrim and expansions versus what was Oblivion, and then the fact that they remade everything. I mean, they didn't really remake everything. They essentially took the mods that other people have taken and monetize it.
Right. Because, I mean, see, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when you look at, so the first Elder Scrolls came out in 94. Then they had Elder Scrolls 2, which was 2 years later. And then they didn't have another Elder Scrolls for another 6 years, which was between Elder Scrolls 2 and 3 Morrowind. And then between Morrowind and Oblivion was 4 years. And then the 5 years between Oblivion and Skyrim.
True. But I think they're...
But when you look, but like I was saying, when you look at that, because technology keeps advancing, between each one is a little bit longer.
And you have to look at the fact that people want all of Tamriel. So there's
also,
there's
you know,
a
they're
community-based mod that's in the works. It's been in the works. Who knows when it's going to be done? That's supposed to group all of Tamriel together so that you can travel to all of it as a mod for Skyrim. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I'm hoping that they take that for Elder Scrolls 6 and they add that now you are able to travel to all the other places that you've been, because I would love to take new gen and see new graphics and go to like the Shivering Isles or whatever in Oblivion, you know, because those were some of my um, favorite expansions, like the Shivering Isles, and you go and you have dementia, and you become a Daedra prince. Still one of my favorites.
Now, here's the one other thing I got to mention. Bethesda is going to take their time on this game. They don't want another Fallout 76 debacle.
Yeah,
So they're going to make sure this game at launch is as perfect
still
as they
two
can
separate
do.
teams, though. While it is Bethesda, when has Bethesda failed in Elder Scrolls versus how many times have they failed Fallout?
Right. But now they're going to be, as soon as they say Elder Scrolls 6 at this day, everyone's going to be like, all right, is it going to be perfect? Is it going to have so many, is it going to brick PS4s like Fallout 76 did? Is it going to basically be almost unplayable? So, I mean, you also have to think, though, yeah, it's all done both by Bethesda, but, Fallout's probably one studio of Bethesda, and Elder Scrolls is a whole nother studio, so it's technically different people working on it. So you almost can't compare, in theory.
Yeah. True. You can't compare in theory, but I still and I agree they're going to take their time on it. I mean, they should, especially if they want to make it large and more open world. I mean, it's already one of the most open world games out there.
That was going to be my next question. You think they make this one of the biggest open world maps we've seen?
I think so. I mean, they can pull it off. There's other games that have massive open worlds. Some have been failures and some not. But if they do all of Tamriel, that's going to be huge. Because just understand how big the maps were. If you just walk, if you role play it truly and you don't fast travel and you walk everywhere, and then if you're a completionist and you explore every portion of the map, which means you might fast travel here and there, and then from those points actually walk to the locations and the dungeons that you want to find. It took a ton of time for me to do that, and I still didn't complete everything, and that's even with a guide so that I know where everything actually is. I was like, it's a lot. And then you start adding all the mods and everything that you can add to that afterwards, the community-based stuff, because that's one of the biggest things that Elder Scrolls has, especially with Skyrim, are the mods.
Now, I'm not a big Elder Scrolls person, but can you do the mods on consoles as well?
Yes. So
that's what I thought.
My understanding was when they released it, they were allowing you to do the mods and pull whichever ones you want from the community.
Gotcha.
You're not as you are more limited on the console, of course, but you still have a really good selection of mods.
Last, I keep saying this, but last PS5, or actually it's mainly a next gen thing. Do games stay at 60 or do they get increased in price?
I think they stay at 60. If they're going to be backwards compatible, it's going to be the same hardware. I mean, they're still going to be on Blu-ray.
Right, because now, and that was my next thing. The reason the games jumped in price from, Xbox 360, PS3 to Xbox One, PS4 is because they used the bigger discs, the Blu-ray, HD discs and everything. And when you really look at it, most people, like, I've looked online and stuff, there's more people that buy digitally than buy disc-based games. So when you're still only buying digitally, it's not like they're now putting it on more expensive discs. You're just going to buy that digitally. Why up the price and run off all that fan base?
Exactly. So I think they're going to stay the same.
Yeah. But with that,
there wasn't an increase in prices recently. I mean, even with the hardware, the increase has always been in the hardware.
Right.
And with the digital, they don't have to, with more people with more people going digital, that's less of a reason to hike up the price on physical. because you have a higher profit margin on digital.
Exactly. But, that's however far away. That's going to cost how much ever. But how about we tell them what they can get this month for free on their PS4, their Xbox One, or even their Nintendo Switch. So if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, there's 2 free games coming out next week for the PlayStation 4 on the PlayStation Plus service. There is What Remains of Edith Finch. Quick synopsis of the game. It says the game centers on the character of Edith Finch, last in the Finch family line, which has a perceived curse on him that causes all but one family member of the generation to die in unusual ways. Going forward here, just talking about this game, it says you learn about different relatives and their deaths by visiting their bedrooms, sealed off and treated as shrines to their memory, with each death plays out in a short gameplay sequence to the player. The game is presented as an anthology of these different mini-series or mini-experiences. So it's basically you're this guy or this character, Edith Finch, and you're basically going through learning how all your other family members died.
Okay.
Interesting. And then also we got multiplayer Overcooked. Overcooked, I haven't played it, but I've watched like people stream it and stuff. It's very fun multiplayer. Basically, it's considered a party game. You team up.
Like one of those. Is it like those other old arcade cook games? Is that what it's like?
Well, what this is, you're in teams of like 2, I think it is, and you're set to you're all cooks, of course, and you're set to prep meals via having different ingredients and stuff, but things can go wrong in your kitchen, and you have to work around all these different things. It says during a round, the players are presented with an order, which must be completed within a short period of time. The chefs must work together to complete the meals, but again, things can go wrong in your kitchen.
What's that Food Network show where they end up screwing you up by like changing utensils?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Hold on. I can find it in 2 seconds. It is, I used to watch this all the time. It is Cutthroat Kitchen.
There you go. That's what this is. It's a game of Cutthroat Kitchen. I mean,
and there is a Overcooked 2. So if you get Overcooked 1 for free and you like it and you play through it, maybe check out Overcooked 2. So moving forward on the Xbox with Xbox Games with Gold, we do have a game called Marooners that is available from May 1st to May 31st. And there's not much about this game out there. It says play a wild mix of fun party games as the action regularly switches back and forth between the different games. It says, can you handle all the chaos? Well, I guess Overcooked multiplayer party type game. And the game I'm a little excited for. The Golf Club 2019 featuring the PGA Tour is available from May 16th to June 15th. Do I have to tell them what it is? It's golf. Also, we've got backwards compatible 360 games, Earth Defense Force, Insect Armageddon, and a Comic Jumper. Now, what I'm most excited for, though, is what's coming to the Nintendo Switch via Switch Online, Nintendo Entertainment System games. We're getting Donkey Kong Jr., ladies and gentlemen. I love Donkey Kong Jr. We're also getting Clue Land. Not exactly sure what that one is. And then we've got Verse Excite Bike, which is basically the exact same thing as the original Excite Bike. Like, I never noticed a difference in either. But those are the games you can get free in the month of May, and I guess a little bit in June with some of the Xbox games as well, since some of those do slide over to the next month. Those are what you can get for free if you don't want to pay for some games and you say, hey, I want something new. I know usually when I tell John, hey, this game's coming free or this game's coming free, he goes, oh, already got that.
Have it.
Already got that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think, it's a good lineup for all the systems. Each one,
Yeah.
I think each system has one free game this month that intrigues me. Like I stated, I'm really excited for Donkey Kong Jr. I'm really excited for the golf club, and I've only ever heard good things of Overcooked. So
Yeah, I'm actually interested in the Overcooked one as far as like a little party game and everything. I mean, for me, I have some that I do on the PC, like Move or Die, Stick Fight. They're very, um, they're just like 2D games and they're extremely fun. Or one that's just Mount with friends or Mount your friends. It sounds wrong, it looks wrong, but it's hard and it's fun with a group of people.
nice.
Yeah. Speaking of the Switch, have you looked into getting Final Fantasy on there? Like 7? I don't know if they have 8 and 9, but
I think
I mean, because
9
recently
dropped.
I told you I bought 9 on the iPhone, and I've been playing through 9 again, which has been fun.
Yeah, I haven't looked into any of them. I know 9 did drop, and I think 7 is out now. Yeah, 7 is out. Literally looks exactly like the PS1.
Oh yeah, it's nostalgic. I love it. I mean, I've been playing it, and because it's on the phone, I kind of feel like I'm cheating because it's a phone app. So if you leave it in the background, you don't actually have to turn off your thing, your console or anything like that.
Right.
And if you close the app and you start it, it continues very close to where you left off. So it kind of defies the point of having the save points, but I'm keeping true to the game. So even if I, restart the application, I'm starting back at the save point. But for those out there looking at nostalgic classics like the Final Fantasy series, I mean, do it.
I mean, it's
Like
only
I
on
bought
the Switch. It's only 15, $16.
That's cheaper than what it is on the iPhone. I mean, my iPhone version of 9 was $20. 7 is 17. 8 is about 17 as well. And
9
then if you want
is
all the
loading it up right here. 9 is 20.
okay, so it's about the same price, yeah. And if you want the whole like 1 through like 5 or 6, it's like $60, which is actually a good deal with how many games you get, and they're all fairly long. Because back in the day they still were.
Right.
So
I mean, you were talking about the whole it'll load you back up exactly where you pause the game from or whatever.
I'm very close. It's not necessarily right where you left off, but maybe if you transitioned areas
Right.
and it loaded you from one area to another, you're going to start from the point where you loaded in the area.
I mean, that's kind of like the way the NES games are built in with on the Switch. They're basically ROMs because you can do save states where basically you could be at any point in the game, set a save state, and then like literally you can be in the middle of a level, jump, pause your game, save state. When you come back and load up that save state, you're in the middle of that jump. So there's so many people that have been playing like the original Legend of Zelda and stuff and been like, oh, I know this part's like people that are replaying it. They're like, oh, I know this next part's going to be hard. I'm probably going to die. Let me do a save state. Then I'll go through it. If I die, I can just go right back to here. So a little cheating, but
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of did that though. So Final Fantasy 9 has a card game in it, and it gets pretty difficult at times because it's random what the opponent's gonna have. So you might play against the opponent 3 times. So like let's say I restart the game and I go to the same opponent right after my save. He's gonna have a separate set of cards, like different random set of cards.
gotcha.
And I'm like, if I lose, because the way that game works, if you lose, if he captured any of your cards, he gets to keep them. So you lose them out of your deck, they're gone.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I kind of learned that, if you restart the game and you start right before you played him, you have all your cards again and you can play him again and again and again until you beat him. So yes, I have done that, but I still remain as true to the game as possible with the rest of it.
So, last thing we're going to talk about here, do some trailer talk. So, a number of trailers came out over the last week or so. None more controversial than old Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
And it's not like everyone's pissed off. Well, I mean, not many people are mad at what the storyline of this movie is. It's more of the look of Sonic, and especially that he's got teeth. Like, what's the big deal that he's got teeth? But I mean, some of the things in this trailer that are kind of different. Has Sonic always had fur or quills?
Well, he is a hedgehog,
Right.
so
I mean,
that's the whole point. But he's been a cartoon, so the way his spikes on the back are, those are essentially all the quills and the way they go. But he's a hedgehog, so yes.
he's an alien though, because he says in the trailer to James Marsden's character, "I'm here to help save your planet." And we know we know in the games he's from the planet Mobius. I think that's right, Mobius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, other things in this trailer, the rings are not just to keep you alive, they're portals, which I think was only ever used like that in one Sonic game. Basically, the portals are like Doctor Strange's portals. He throws a ring, it expands and grows, you fall in it, and then boom, there you go. I did like, huh? Go for
I'm
it.
trying to figure out what people don't really like about it.
The look of Sonic. They're saying it's not true to the original Sonic.
How far back of the original are they going?
I mean, people are mad that his arms are blue. His arms should be the skin color.
Okay, my arms are blue. You're really throwing a fit over some arms. Now, I get it. His arms are blue. I mean, and it's supposed to be skin color, and then he's wearing gloves instead of his fur.
Well, isn't he wearing gloves in this one too?
No, that's his fur in this one.
Let me see if I can find a better photo that I'm looking at here.
Do I have the...
Oh, yeah, that is trailer? Just hands. That's not gloves. You're right.
Yeah, so... I mean... The rest of it, though, his eyes don't go as far up like it does in the cartoon, but you gotta add some realistic features to it anyways.
Right.
I think it's well done.
I mean...
You're going from cartoon to realism, and when you're looking at it from a realistic perspective, he has to have fur. Okay, so yes, the way it's spiked back, it's gonna look like it's, the quills and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know they're actual quills because we see at least twice in the trailer Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik picks up a quill and James Marsden's character picks up a quill.
Right, which once again, alien or not, he's a hedgehog.
Very true.
They got quills. That's the whole point. So, yes, that makes sense. You can't be pissed off at that. I can understand why they want it to be skin color so that it looks, and that might be why he looks a little weird, is because his arms aren't the same color as his chest. And it's not necessarily that it's skin color, it's just the fur is a different color. But how do you really translate the cartoon? Right. I mean, so in the cartoon, was his whole belly bare? Or did it have fur? And it was just a different color fur. I mean, it's all subjective material here. You don't know. You can't really say what it was or what it should be because you can't depict it in the cartoon. The cartoon's just flat. It's 2D.
Exactly. I mean, some of the other things in the trailer we do know based off of one of the movie posters. It's based on near San Francisco. Because there's a movie poster where he's sitting on the Golden Gate Bridge. But at the same time, that could be... It doesn't have to be near San Francisco. As shown in the trailer, he goes 760 miles an hour, which has been stated in the games that is Sonic's top speed. So he can basically run from... Because we do see at the beginning of the trailer, there is a sign that says, "Welcome to Green Hill," which is, Green Hill Zone from the original Sonic games.
Right, and like he said in the trailer, I mean, he's already walked 9 million steps.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. And he's got all those burnt-out shoes.
Yeah, I'm surprised people aren't pissed off that his shoes aren't the same either. Was it, you want them with Velcro? Really?
Like, he's got all them burnt-out shoes. Why does he keep his shoes? Throw away them when you're done. Anyways, I mean, another thing people are mad about is how Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik looks. Now, we don't know the time frame of this. Here's the thing. We see Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik when he shows up to work with the military. And yeah, he doesn't look exactly like the Dr. Robotnik we know. But at the end of the trailer, they flash to one quick shot of a bald, big mustached Dr. Robotnik. Now, it's only from like the chest up, so we don't see if he gets fat or not. But that's another thing. Everyone's like, Dr. Robotnik's supposed to have the big belly.
Here's my thing with that. Dr. Robotnik isn't Sonic's full arch nemesis in the beginning of the movie. Once he becomes the full arch nemesis, something must have happened that, happens in the movie. And now he is the one that we know.
Wait,
with the bald, the mustache, everything else.
I didn't think of it like that. Because Sonic says, I'm coming to save your planet. But save it from what? Is the question.
Exactly.
Save it from what? And then he does he runs really fast, does the sonic boom, power goes out, there's this big old thing, the military's got to figure out what caused it, Dr. Robotnik comes to help the military, and then he's trying to catch Sonic and it turns him crazy. Or more crazy than his character is when he first shows up.
Something, and he blames Sonic for it, and next thing you know, all he wants to do is catch Sonic. Or just because he couldn't catch him, it, like you said, turns him crazy. I mean, it's the movie, so it has to be somewhat origin based.
Mm-hmm. And the last little thing here, when we see the shot of Robotnik looking more like Robotnik, there's a bunch of mushrooms around him, which could be Mushroom Hill Zone. Is that on Mobius? Do they go and travel to Mobius by the end of this movie?
It could be.
Because that's the other thing. It's like
we were talking portals. So there's a possibility that
now
whatever's going on. I mean, because there's a poster where he's going through one of the rings.
Oh no, we see it in the trailer. There's two people fall off the big building. He throws down a ring. They fall through the ring. They're safe. Now here's one thing: that last shot of Robotnik. We don't know if there's going to be a sequel. We don't know that yet. But the last shot of Robotnik, could that be their post-credits scene, or something from their post-credits scene, where it's like, hey, Robotnik's now on where Robotnik's now on Mobius, but like they showed us half a second. Could this be like a 1-minute post-credit scene where we've learned that Sonic's gone back to Mobius and Robotnik has gone there too? Because Robotnik in this scene, or whatever the shot is, he's around the mushrooms and he's got one of the quills. Could that be like the post-credit scene?
Maybe he wants the power. Maybe he goes crazy and wants the power from that Sonic has.
Right.
Now, I just sent you a picture. So this is an illustrated. This isn't like the CGI type, but this is what he would look like if he followed the traditional look.
Here, let me pull it up on the screen so the people watching can actually see it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can keep talking. I'll pull it up here in a second.
Yeah, no. So there isn't too much difference here, except for now he has a cartoonish smile, which you can't do that. You got to keep it realistic, so that'll stay on the left. I don't know about doing the eyes the same. They have to keep it realistic, so the eyes would be the same. But there's really not that much difference between the two.
I mean, when you look at it, I got the image up now. When you look at it, like you stated, the eyes are larger, and the eyes kind of connect together.
But that's the cartoon portion of it.
And then in the cartoon version, the mouth area is wider. And then, of course, the only other big difference is the arms and the hands.
And there really isn't a big difference there, except for it's a color and they're not wearing gloves. That's it.
I mean, what do they want? Him to look a little meaner?
I don't know. They just can't do it cartoonish. They cannot keep it cartoonish. So they can't do the eyes connecting. They have to make him more realistic, like he is an animal that walks on 2 feet and talks.
Exactly. Now, we did learn, though. Let me find this tweet here. So, it is... Let me read the tweet verbatim. So, Jeff Fowler, who was the director of this movie, took to Twitter and stated the following. Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design? and you want changes, it's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie. Hashtag gotta fix it fast. Yes, gotta fix it fast, because this movie comes out November.
Yep.
Now, what was that one movie with... Hold on. With... who was it? Now I can't find this.
Oh, while you're looking for that, I think they can fix it fast. This is the animated portion of it.
Exactly.
That is just superimposed on the rest of it. It's not like they have to reshoot anything. They're still going to use the same wireframe skeletons for all the movement, everything. So all they got to do is just adjust the model to fit what they want, or the color. That's about it. Maybe they'll round his face off a little bit. Maybe they'll make his eyes just a little bit bigger. The biggest thing is, hey, just change his arms to white and give him some gloves.
Now, I mean, if you remember, Kevin Spacey was supposed to be in a movie in 2017. There was some controversy about Kevin Spacey. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
The movie was All the Money in the World. Literally 3 or 4 weeks before the movie was supposed to come out, the director, Ridley Scott, basically stated, we're taking him out. We're going to reshoot the scenes that he's in with a new actor, and you're never going to know the difference. So if they can do that with the actor, where they had to reshoot stuff and make it all look perfect and this and that, with that quickly, they've got, what is it, May, June, July, August, September, October, 6 months to reanimate Sonic.
Yeah, and they already have the model. All they're doing is shifting the model itself.
Exactly.
And models aren't full pieces together, they're parts.
Right.
So they don't necessarily have to change the body at all. With the body, all they're changing is color. So that is just changing the texture portion of it to a different color, painting it a different color. And then the face, that's a separate model portion of that. And even that could be in multiple pieces. And so they just really have to adjust a few things on there.
And one other little thing, you got to think 6 months out, it's not like the movie's fully done and rendered out. They probably haven't fully rendered it, so they haven't lost all that time. They've just rendered what they needed for the trailer, probably.
Yep.
But talking some other trailers, next week we've got on the 10th, Detective Pikachu. I already know that I'm taking my kids opening weekend to go see it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going as well.
And
kids are no kids.
It's getting more than positive, like more positive than negative reviews. I've seen a couple negative reviews of, oh, it's just Pokemon movie. You know, the snobby Hollywood reporters are like, nah, this isn't my thing, da-da-da. But
I just watched the Pokemon movie just the other day. I introduced my daughter to the whole Pokemon movie. I mean, she's seen some Pokemon shows, but I just introduced her to the movie. Granted, I really hated when he had the hallucination, because I still don't think it was actually Pikachu talking, but, you know.
You're talking like the original Pokemon movie, or like the sort of remake Pikachu I Choose You?
The I Choose You one, where it was kind of like a precursor to him actually going to the local gyms.
So without the one without Brock and Misty that just came out recently.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's my question to you. They're doing Detective Pikachu instead of the Ash Ketchum story. Do you think they should have went the Ash route? Or do you think this was the better route to go? Because if you go the Ash route, you either have to really quickly spin through that story to go through the 8 gyms and the Pokemon League, or you have to commit to 9 movies.
I say this is the best route because it's a whole fresh take that will attract not just the young Pokemon generation and the old nostalgic generation, but it's going to attract people that never touched any Pokemon, that didn't even watch the cartoons. Because really the only reason you're going to watch Pokemon now is either you have kids or you just want to see it for nostalgic purposes. Hey, I watched it. They came out with this movie, and it's supposed to be kind of like a somewhat remake of the Ash Ketchum story, so let me go see it. This route, it's more of a 20s to to 40s, so that the 20-year range right there, I think that's the audience they're going for. I mean, you got Deadpool as Pikachu. That's always
Right.
what he's going to be known as, Deadpool.
And I mean,
And
as of right
go
now,
ahead.
it's got a 70% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not bad for, early previews of the movie. And I don't know if you ever heard of the man Gary Whitta, who wrote the script for Star Wars Rogue One. He stated, because he was on the Kind of Funny Games Daily Show Wednesday, he stated that he had a meeting with Legendary Productions. He couldn't state what the meeting was for, but while he was there, they were doing a special early screening of Detective Pikachu for families. He said every person that he saw come out of that early screening were just raving about how much they loved the movie, from the kids that were there to the adults.
And if they do it right, they're going to be like every other movie that's come out, where they have adult jokes that just go right over the kids' heads,
Right.
to have the more adult-oriented comedy and a lot of the kid-oriented comedy. And this is the perfect opportunity to take and show people what Pokemon would look like in the real world, how they were in, the new Ash Ketchum movie. With that storyline, it covered, the dailies, how most Pokemon live amongst everybody and they work together, so on and so forth. And then you have the trainers. Well, this is a perfect example of it, because you see these Pokemon in daily activities with the human.
Exactly. And I mean,
And
go for it.
and I think it's a great way to look at it. You're not looking at, oh, we're training, we're battling. No,
Right.
this is a different take on what Pokemon is.
Now, my big question is, I forget the main character's name in the movie, but how is he the only person basically in the world that we know of so far that can understand this Pikachu, and only this Pikachu? I guess they're going to have to address that in the movie, I would assume.
Because even Pikachu's like, what the hell, you can hear me?
Exactly. And then he's like, we got to team up. I can talk to the Pokemon. You can talk to humans. We can talk to each other. It's very interesting. Like, I'm interested. It's getting pretty good reviews. I know IGN gave it an 8 out of 10. They're stating that it's... Now, you can't really compare because there's never been a great video game movie. But they're saying that this is probably the best movie based off of a video game franchise that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But going forward, we've also got coming out on the same day is Tolkien. And this is based off of J.R.R. Tolkien, right?
Yeah, so it seems that everybody's going the route of, let's do a movie on an author that has made a massive impact. And we all know Tolkien movies and, well, books to begin with, and then the movies.
Right.
And
Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. And it's taken the story of how he, in the war, this is pretty much what got him through it. And that's my take from the trailers and what they're talking about, and how Lord of the Rings came to be, how Middle Earth came to be.
I like the line in the trailer when he's sitting with Lily Collins' character, and he's like, I've created my own language. I've written these stories and adventures. She's like, well, tell me a story in any language you want to say. And it's all because in the stories of Lord of the Rings, different characters speak different languages.
And he created all of that.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to this one, because I think this one, well, I mean, from the trailers, it looks way better than the other ones. Because, I mean, you had the one, what was the author for Winnie the Pooh? Why do I forgot his name, but the
the one about the guy that wrote the story, and then his son Christopher Robin became famous and all that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It didn't really have a big theatrical release, though, so it wasn't really widely known.
Right, and there's another one out there, and I forgot what it was. But I'm definitely looking forward to this one as well. I don't think, with all the other bigger releases coming out, that I'm going to go see this one in the theaters, but
Yeah,
it's
probably not.
I to keep an eye out on and see what kind of reviews it gets.
Yeah, I agree too. There's too many bigger movies like Endgame, Detective Pikachu on the same night. You got Aladdin coming out like a week, 2 weeks later. So I think this movie may get lost in the shuffle. What it does remind me of a little bit from the trailers is, what was that one movie with Eddie Redmayne? Was it? Yeah, The Theory of Everything, where he played Stephen Hawking. Kind of gives me the same vibe of that movie, like story wise and the way it's all filmed and put together.
I can see that.
But speaking of Aladdin, that movie's coming out on the 24th, and you think it's, there's been a lot of backlash from the fans saying, "Oh, Genie doesn't look good. Why is this changed to the?" I think it's more of, you just got to go see it, and I think it may do better, or at least the movie itself may be better than people are expecting.
Well, from the full trailer that they released, because at first we only had the teasers,
Right?
and you got only a glimpse of Will Smith's portrayal of Genie, both in human form and genie form, and you got a glimpse of Jafar, Aladdin, the princess. But when you get the full trailer, there's two trailers. The most recent one, which is the one that you just have right there. That's the one that shows the magic carpet ride. It shows a little bit more about the talk of him wanting to be a prince, and you get to really get a feel of Will Smith's portrayal of Aladdin. And personally, I think he's doing a great job from what we see. But you can't compare him to Robin Williams. Robin Williams didn't do a live action, so it's a different format. And so the mannerisms, the gestures, everything, it's going to be different in a cartoon than it is in the live action.
Right.
And Robin Williams, while he was great at the comedy and everything else, he was amazing in the voice booth. When it came to voiceovers, he was big in that. Just because he could be 20 different characters all at the same time.
Right. And I mean, when people were first freaking out, "Oh my God, the genie's not even blue," it's like, you got to remember, there's the scene when they're dancing through the streets. Genie's got to look as human as possible to introduce Aladdin, or Al, or Ali, whatever he calls him right then. I think it's Ali.
Alibaba.
Yeah, Prince Ali Ababa.
There you go.
He's, got to look human to introduce him to the Sultan. Because you can't have this blue guy walk up to the Sultan and be like, "Well, who the hell's this blue guy and this guy coming?"
Does nobody remember that Genie turns into this white dude in the movie?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. When he's introduced, when they're singing through the city, through Agrabah, and he introduces him and says, "Hey, this is Prince Ali Ababa." When he flies in on the magic carpet, and so. And then we've also seen in the trailers, there looks like there may be some new scenes where they're like at some gathering or some palace party, and Genie is there with him, having to blend in. So I say give it a shot. I'm probably going to go see it, not opening weekend because I'm going to be out of town that weekend. I'll probably go see it the next or the weekend after that. I'll see it within the first couple of weeks it comes out.
Yeah. And I still got to reference back. Genie, when the prince's caravan came in that he created, were Apu's the elephant.
Right.
And the genie was big white dude. He was one of the ladies. He was a fat lady in one of the windows. Like, he transformed into different human
forms,
versions of himself.
Yeah.
And he turns into the old dude. I mean, there's a lot of things that he does. So you cannot rag on him for that. Plus, when he's talking in the trailer to Aladdin, I think so far the acting looked great. The music that we hear and the way it's being portrayed, he's bringing his own style to it. He's bringing the Fresh Prince. He's bringing Switch. He's bringing Wild West. He's bringing all these different styles that he could do into this. And that's why I think he's the perfect choice, because he's done so many roles that are so different from each other, and being a comedian in general, being able to have that, I think he's a great part for it.
And when you look at the character of Genie, the characters we've learned in the movies, pretends to be different people all the time. So like you're saying, with Will Smith having done so many different characters through his career, he knows how to play different characters per se. So it's like, I think also the other thing is, do we really want him to try and just copy the Robin Williams character? Do you want him to try and sound the same, act the same as that character we saw on screen? No. You want him to bring his own fresh style to it. So that way we can go, oh wow, this was good in similar ways, the movie overall, but at the same time, I like these little new things that they did do.
And you know what that reminds me of? That goes back to the same thing that we have with the Batman stuff. So with the Batman stuff, you have the Michael Keaton movies, then you have the Christian Bale movies, and then you have, you know, the different Jokers. And people saying, no, this Joker, you'll never be able to beat him, or you'll never be able to be the Jack Nicholson. And like, but they're two different types of characters as well. They're two different types of Jokers.
So the
They're
late
two different
90s
types of Batmans.
So the late 90s Batman movies didn't do nothing for you?
No, I like the
You skipped right over George Clooney and Val Kilmer.
They're not part of the debate. Nobody brings them up, but they didn't have the Joker.
Very true.
So it's completely different. Like, I liked Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face because it fit a different style. I definitely liked Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Oh, he was perfect as Riddler.
Exactly. He made that movie. Like, that's what it was, and Val Kilmer wasn't fat.
Now, I will say Arnold Schwarzenegger was a little meh as Mr. Freeze. Could have been better.
Mr. Freeze should have been a twig. They should have gotten like Snoop Dogg.
Uma Thurman was perfect as Poison Ivy, though. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
She was a perfect Poison Ivy.
Oh, yeah. She looks so different now.
But the last trailer you did want to talk about was John Wick 3. It was called Parabella. Comes out on May 17th. I've only seen the first one.
Shame on you, man. This is like some of the best. You know, this is what made Keanu Reeves again. We
resurrected his career.
We talked about the whole movie jail that happened with him being in movie jail for rejecting Speed 2.
Right.
And nobody would take him. Even doing The Matrix didn't get him out of Fox movie jail. So he really didn't want to do movies. I mean, this guy makes a living just doing the custom bikes. Like, he owns his own chopper's shop and makes his own custom bikes that are pretty badass. And he doesn't need to be doing movies. He's one of the most down-to-earth people. Doesn't flaunt his money, anything like that. So what's he need?
So the storyline for John Wick 3, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it like there's like a $15 million bounty on him, and he's got to try and get out of New York?
It's a $14 million dollar bounty on him. So there's something that happens at the end of 2. Since you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it.
Just spoil it. I don't care.
Okay. So at the end of 2, there's rules. When you go into this hotel, which is for the assassins, that is a neutral ground. No matter what beef you have with anybody, you cannot take a contract in. You cannot fulfill a contract in there. You cannot kill anybody in there. It is neutral ground. Should you do that, you have put a bounty on your head.
Gotcha.
And even though he was really close with the manager or the owner of the hotel, he still did it. And the guy gives him a head start out of courtesy of being, the best assassin, and them being, I guess you could say, friends. But that's where this plays in. Now he's on the run and everybody's after him, but he is the best assassin.
Okay, that makes sense.
We're going to see all the other assassins team up. Not necessarily team up, but they want the bounty, so they're going to go after him.
Right. And then I know joining the cast is Halle Berry.
That was interesting.
So that should be a
So
good addition.
I haven't seen her in anything recently. I mean, that I've watched. So it's gonna be nice to see how she adds to the series.
Let's see. Let me go to
And
her IMDb. I'll tell you what she's done recently.
I'm hoping that the series that this isn't gonna end at a trilogy. Even Keanu Reeves said he'll continue doing these as long as people want them because he loves the John Wick character.
So she was in The Kingsman, Golden Circle, 2017.
I still haven't seen that.
Have you seen the first Kingsman?
I did.
Yeah, because I've only seen I think. Wait, there's 3 Kingsmen, right? Or is there only 2?
Yes. 3, I want to say.
Okay, then I've only seen the first 2.
Okay.
She was in that. She was in a couple other lower budget films. The last, other than Kingsman and a Kevin Hart documentary in 2016, the last big thing she did was X-Men Days of Future Past in 2014. Because she hasn't been doing much.
Yeah. I'm wondering why she maybe somebody reached out to her for a part in this.
Well, she's got not Kingsman, John Wick 3, 2019. Then she's going to be in 2 other movies that don't have release windows yet. One's called Bruised, which is in pre-production, and another movie that has been announced called Jagged Edge. We'll see. Maybe she's going to make a comeback. Or maybe it was just like, she got the itch again. Let me attach myself to a couple projects and go from there.
Yeah. That's probably the case. And when's this come out?
John Wick?
So the 17th.
Yeah.
May 17th. Okay, so 2 weeks. And then we have Aladdin the following week. And then just next Friday we have Detective Pikachu and Tolkien. And then of course, Sonic's still slated for November 8th.
November 8th, and I think they said even though they're going to redo Sonic, or however they call fixing him, I don't think they're planning on changing that release date.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't push it back, because if you push it back 2 weeks, then you're going up against Frozen 2, and if you push it back a month, you're going up against Star Wars.
Yeah, you can't win against those 2.
And it'll die against both.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to die anyways, because a lot of people will probably be like, I don't want to spend to go see, because if people have kids, they're probably going to wait and go see Frozen with their kids instead of going to the theaters to see Sonic. Because that's probably what will happen with me. I won't pay to go see Sonic in theaters. I'll just bootleg it at home and go see Frozen in theaters.
Yeah, for real though, you got better kid movies coming out. That's probably what you're going to see. And this doesn't look necessarily geared towards kids anyway, so that's the other problem.
Maybe a little for the kids that know Sonic, but how many kids these days really know Sonic? Is my question. I mean, my kids do, because apparently they found the old Sonic cartoons on Netflix, but
yeah, I don't know. I want to see it, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to go see it.
Exactly. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Weebo Director Show. I want to say thank you to everybody who stuck with us for this whole thing. Talked about the PS5, talked about games you can get for free this month, bunch of different movies coming out this month. And we'll come back again next week. You can follow us, the Weebo Director Show, on Twitter at WeeboNDirector, not and, but N Director. You can follow me on Twitter and other social media platforms at TimmyBuddy. John, where can they find you?
They can find me at Director47. There's an underscore in between Director and 47.
And then
side note, I will be releasing my tutorials on my YouTube, so stay tuned for that for those that are interested in tech and moving into like information technology or information security. Those will be coming out soon as well.
Awesome. And then again, you can always find me basically 7 days a week at Pro Wrestling Unlimited or PW Unlimited. Just search that online. It'll pop right up if you do like professional wrestling. With that, I think we're done. We're out.
All right.
Have a good week, folks.
Take it easy.